Okay, so that's our introduction. Let's move on to part two. Formation. The Uniform Commercial Code is very liberal in how you can form a contract for sale of of goods under Article 2. Right? They say a contract for sale of goods can be formed in any manner sufficient to show agreement. Now think about that for a second. Under common law, we talked about, I believe it was 3 or 4, I think it's 4, very specific ways that a contract can be formed. We have express, we have implied, and we have quasi-contracts. I guess it is 3. Express, implied, and quasi-contract. There ain't no third direction, right? You've either done it through words, you've done it through your actions, or you've done it by command of the court. All right, so any manner sufficient to show agreement. So what they're basically saying is if you've got some things written and some things not, some things that are demonstrated by actions, that's fine. If you've got, if you don't have anything written, if you just have conversations, any manner sufficient to show agreement. Now, at this point in the class, we've usually have already gone through the statute of frauds, which we were supposed to cover at the beginning of class today, this Wednesday, February 2nd, but we haven't yet. We will get to it. One of the things you're going to see in there is that one of the contracts that absolutely has to be in writing in order to be enforceable are contracts for sales of goods greater than $500. Now, that's not very much. So most of your sales of goods are going to have to be reflected in some kind of a writing in order to be enforceable. But we'll talk more about that when we actually get to the statute of frauds, which I plan on spending some time with next time we're in class together. Okay, so what this also means is that offer and acceptance aren't even necessary. There doesn't need to be offer and then acceptance, power of acceptance and all that stuff. We've done away with that, right? We've done away with common law, offer, and acceptance. However, where there is an offer, it can be accepted by any reasonable manner within a reasonable time. So what the code is telling you is that, look, we're not getting rid of these concepts, right? They have some value. Offer and acceptance is the way that a lot of times these deals come about. But it doesn't have to be that way. If it happens to be that way, we have some rules on how it should go. If there's an offer, it can be accepted in a reasonable manner and within a reasonable time. All right? So we've done away with the mailbox rule, if you've noticed that. All right? Any reasonable manner, any reasonable time. All right? They can lapse. An offer can lapse if it's not accepted within a reasonable time. But I think that's also, we talked about that in terms of common law offers as well. They also are left, if you've made an offer, the person has a reasonable time to make that acceptance. So really, there's not much change there. The only major difference that we have is that, it's a lot more open on how an offer can be made and how an acceptance can be made, or you don't have to offer and accept at all. We'll talk a little bit more about how the code makes these deals without offer and acceptance. Actually, probably the best examples I can give you on how formation happens without offer and acceptance is in the supplemental reading that I posted by Keating. One of those is about contract formation, and they talk about a lot of these issues in a very real-world sort of way. So give that a read if you're having trouble kind of picturing how this stuff applies. Here's an example. When an offer requests, and this is right out of the code, this is one of the sections of the code. When an offer requests prompt shipment of goods, acceptance can be made by promising to ship or just shipping. All right, and you see below there on the screen 2206. Those are references to code sections. You're not going to be responsible for knowing the code section, so I'm never going to say what does 2206 say. But they're just kind of there as FYI, and they're there for me mostly so that I know kind of where we are. So anyway, promising to ship or shipment. think of it this way. You are LL Bean, and you need more extra large black t-shirts. So you contact whoever your manufacturer is that makes black t-shirts, and you say, I need them, please ship promptly. Now, you've done business with this company before. You know exactly what their prices are, or you may even have a catalog of theirs that tells you flat out what the prices are. You're not going to price haggle, you just want to make your order. So you send an order form, or you make a phone call, or you send an email or whatever, and you say, please ship, right? Now, common law would look at that as an offer. Uniform Commercial Code says whatever. And if they send you an email back, say, yes, we will ship immediately, common law would look at that and say, okay, we have acceptance. UCC says, well, they can do that if they want to, or they can just ship them. And when they have shipped them, even without speaking a word to the buyer, that counts as acceptance, and there is a contract. So when those goods arrive, when the shirts arrive, LL Bean can't just turn around and say, oh, I changed my mind, I don't want those anymore. The contract was formed when acceptance was made by shipment, because LL Bean requested prompt shipment of goods. So you see how we're a little bit more loose, we're a little bit more free. If you don't want to accept something by communicating directly to the offeror that you've accepted at those exact terms, blah, 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 you don't have to, right? Revocation of offers exists in the Uniform Commercial Code the same way it does under common law. You can do it anytime prior to acceptance. However, we've added a new wrinkle, and you remember I said that we were going to come back to this when we talked about the Uniform Commercial Code. We talked about irrevocable offers under the common law, and this was one of the ones I mentioned, but I said this is not it's an irrevocable offer, but it's not applicable under the common law. Here's how it works. It requires a couple of things to happen in order for it to be irrevocable. First of all, you have an express intention, and express means in words, right, that the offer be left open. So it's not just, hey, let me think about that, right? That's not good enough. You have an express intention. Yes, you can think about this for a certain number of days, or I will make sure that I don't sell this until you've given me a final answer on whether or not you want to buy it. It needs to be in writing, which is also important. All right. You have an expressed intention that the offer will be left open, and that's put in writing. So you have a letter or something else that says, if you want to consider this offer, you can have until the end of the month, or you can have 15 days, or you can have 2 weeks. Some time period that the offer is going to be left open, and that's put in writing. And lastly, it has to be signed by a merchant. All right, this is a merchant's firm offer. It's not seller's firm offer. Big difference. We've talked about what a merchant is. Remember, it's one who deals in goods of a kind, or who by his or her occupation holds themselves out to have superior knowledge of the goods in question. We hold merchants to higher standards. So when a merchant says in writing and signs it that, yes, I will hold on to this good, this F-150 truck, I will hold, if you're interested, I will hold on to it and make sure it's not sold. My offer is to sell it to you at this price, but you must accept this offer by March 1st. Otherwise, I'm going to sell it to somebody else. All right? If that's in writing, signed by the merchant, that is a merchant's firm offer, and it's irrevocable for the time period that is indicated in the letter. All right? Or for a reasonable time, but that reasonable time that those can be held open, the code says under no